666. So each person will be getting 6 ml of the drink, 6 slices, and 6 grams of salt. Okay. But since there are 3 friends in the group, we need to divide that quantity by 3, which is 2. So basically, you have 20 ml of drink. Let's say the drink is the deciding case here. So you can make 6 toasts, but the same 6 toasts have to be divided among 3 people. So each person will be getting 2 toasts. So the number of toasts each friend can make is 2. So that's what we have to print. So you can follow the other example as well. The other example is a bit intuitive because you have 5 friends, and if you just do the same calculation, you'll be getting 3. So now the aim of this is to just convert this into a mathematical expression, so such that you can solve. So I'll be just showing a demo solution here. So you have to take since each variable here is a positive integer, I can declare it as an int. And note that the range is also just 1 to 1000 here. So you need not include any modifiers for that. So long int, there's nothing necessary for that. So just be careful while taking the variables in order. E, L, N, P. And you can just access them as well. And the space doesn't make any difference while taking in the variables again, any if you have doubts in that. So yeah, so we take in the variables, and now if you can do this question as in one way, which is by taking if statements and finding out the minimum. But one thing I encourage you is to actually use a inbuilt function C in the C++ library, which is the minimum function. This function, as I said, it takes in 2 numbers and it returns the smallest of them, right? So, and if they're equal, it returns any number it gives. So you can use this function here because you want the minimum of them. So yeah. So if you see the first thing, I'll give this in a different way. So you can say it like min of first the total number of drinks we have. So it is K into L, the total quantity of drink we have, divided by each person, each friend needs NL to, make a toast, and so the number of toasts he can make again is by N again. So N into NL. This is covering the drinks part, and about the next one is the the slices. So there are a total of C into D slices once you cut them all, and each person needs 1 slice, so that's not a problem, and each person can make 10 toast. I'll just write this down once and I'll explain it to you. And again, you have what's the last p grams of salt. So you have p grams of salt in total, and again you have to divide it, and each person needs NP to make 1 toast, and the number of toasts he can make is N. So, and you can just end it here. So what I did here is basically I needed to find a minimum of 3 numbers, but the min function can take only 2 numbers as an input. So I found the minimum of the first 2, and then again I checked it for the minimum of the third. So it's basically going to give me the minimum of the 3 numbers. So yeah, I think the solution seems to be correct. Any doubts till now?
You can raise your hand as well.
Yeah. Okay, it seems there are no doubts, so I'll just proceed on. Yeah, Aditya. there seems to be no doubts by us, so I'll just continue.
Sure.
Yeah. So this seems to be correct, and so based on my template for this question, actually, I had this is basically given in as a function. So one advantage of using this particular template, I'll share it to the groups if they want it again. One advantage of using this template is it's generalized for all questions. So this is one of the lesser proportion of questions, but in most questions in Codeforces, you'll be actually getting test cases in every input. So here the input just has one test case, but I think if you solved the later problems in the problem sheet, some questions need test cases as well. So you know that test cases part, again, you need not waste time writing code again, so it's already pre-written here. But since here there's no test cases, I'll just remove this line over here. So this function will run for this for loop will run for one time and call the function solve, and it will print it. So let's just copy one of the questions, and so let's just check once. So I'll just build and run this. So if you, so yeah, we're getting 2. So which is the required answer. So you can check the other cases as well if you want. I'll just submit this once just to show you, and if just to check if it runs. So I'll just submit it. This language is the same as we explained in the last class, GNU G++ 17.
We'll provide the link to the solutions as well in the last, so you can go
Yeah.
to the solutions as well.
So yeah, my question has been, my solution has been accepted. So you can see the test cases which have been run also. Here everything has been accepted, but if you had any errors, you could look into any particular test case and you could figure it out. Mostly this question is pretty short to have any fundamental error, but sometimes if you declared the wrong variables or the order in which variables, you may have made a mistake, so you can check that out. So yeah, that was soft drinking problem. So
Akhil,
any,
there was a request. Is it possible? Like, can you show how we can solve using if else as well?
yeah, so one thing is you can to just you can just simplify this process. You can give each of these as a fixed quantity, because this is, let's say this is the drinks. So I'll just write int variable drinks, which is going to find this integer, and slices as another variable, and the last one was salt. So I'll just write that int salt is this part. So yeah, you need now, as I said before, you need to find the minimum of these 3 numbers. So you could again do it by the if else statement. So if, say, drinks, uh, you can say, let's say if the minimum of the 3 quantities, let's consider it to be drinks. So if drinks is the minimum, okay, so if slices is actually greater than, sorry, slices is actually lesser than or equal to drinks, which is the minimum here, the minimum will become slices. And else, if you have salt is drink, minimum is again drinks. So not drinks, salt. Salt is actually lesser than. So else the minimum is actually drinks, so it will just, so you could print the minimum of the three numbers. Yes, fair. This will run, right?
You can just try it out.
Yeah. So you can check it for the first case also if you want, like just a quick check again. By the calculations, you'll be getting 680 and 100 again. So, sorry. So if any of these quantities are actually lesser than the minimum which we consider, then you assign that to be the minimum, and salt will be the minimum. So let me just run test case 2, for example, here. So, okay. So our answer is 3 and we also got 3, so that's fine. So one of the test case is given 0, so we'll just check that as well quickly. Okay, so here now we're getting a different answer, it seems. 57. So I think we made an error somewhere. Could you guys spot the error here?
Yeah,
Could
that's a
admin
nice.
can find out? Yeah.
You can raise your hand if you get the error. That would be a nice.
I'll just share my screen, show you the code as well.
Yeah, we can see. Yeah.
So this is the code, you can see it. So one second. So can you find the error? Basically, it's the third test case, so you could quickly check the third test case and figure it out as well.
You can speak, Bharat.
Yeah, we need to divide it with per so as to get no.
Sorry, which
We,
one?
we need to divide with number of persons, no?
But the variables have already been divided, right? So just check the third test case, what you're getting for each variable, like what will drinks store. So k into L will be storing 10 power 6 by n into NL. N is 10 and
Yeah. Let's ask someone else.
yeah,
Loud.
anyone.
Okay. Chinmay, you can speak.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, Chinmay, you are audible.
If we divide at the last by the number of the friends, we will get the integer division, and we will get a integer number for the toast for each parent. So we could have done that all process in the last step. So we will get the integer, and in the integer division, we will get the 0 as output.
Could you just repeat once? I couldn't hear you. Your voice is breaking.
Okay. In the last step, we can divide by the number of the friends, because it will be the result in the integral division, and it will lead
Correct.
to 0. Yeah.
Okay. So you mean this step, right?
Yeah.
By n. So yeah, if he says let's just check it once if his analogy is correct.
But you have divided already, so
Yeah.
you cannot do that thing there.
So tell me the final error.
In each step, you just cancel that n and only do that step at the last to get the integral division.
Okay, so
Do you think, Chinmay, that should make a difference?
Yeah, because in the last, if it is an integral division, we will get a 0 if it is not an integer number. The division is not an integer.
Okay, I would just like to clarify,
Just
like
define something. Just define something. The variable at the output equal to min divided by n.
Okay, let's try it out.
Yeah, so the code he suggested is this one. I've removed the by n in the variable declarations and I'm given it in the last step. So
You also have to declare the min divided by n as something integer variable to get the output. Not exactly output giving the output of min divided by n.
okay, so fine. You want so I say int answer is equal to min by n,
Yeah, that's
and you want me to output answer. Okay,
yeah.
so I'll run, but it's still giving me the same one.
So what do you think, Chinmay?
I have to think now.
Okay,
Just-
let's try someone else.
Just think about the 57. Why do you think it's coming once?
Kaustubh, you can speak now.
Like, it should not be else if, it should be if instead.
Sorry.
You have written the first statement is if and the second statement is else if, right?
Okay.
They both should be if, because if both slices and salt both are less than min, you need to update it twice, but you are just updating it once.
Yes.
Other than that, I think it was earlier also correct, like other than this.
Yeah, that was not another because it's the same. So here my bug was a very simple one, just writing an else if statement instead of an if one. But see, I've already missed checking one more line in the code, so that I think caused this error. So let's try what he said.
There should not be division by NN again.
Okay, my bad, my bad.
Thank you, Kaustubh.
Sorry.
Nothing.
So it's giving us 0 as the answer. So that's good. So if you want, you could run this code again. Check all the test cases.
So I guess you guys would have got what the error is, right? Like when it was less than it will update it. But it could be the case that even salt is less than drink, and the third thing is as well less than drink. In that case, it will only update it once. So yeah, I guess you guys would have got it. Let's see still if it passes all the test case.
So it got accepted. So yeah, so the bug again in the code was pretty small. Just wrote an else if statement instead of an if one. But again, if you could do it again by adding another else if and again comparing slices and salt. But this is more of a direct check. So, and again, since you're updating min also in every step, 2 if statements will solve the problem. So, understood everyone? You could, if you have any doubts, you can write them in the Telegram group and or even in the chats. So Baya, can I move on to the next? Someone's raising their hand still, so can we unmute him?
Yeah. Do you have a
Chinmay.
doubt what you were about to answer, Mayank? Maybe
Yeah.
Mayank, do you want to ask something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
am I audible?
Yeah, Mayank.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to ask about the first method what you did, that comparing the three number that you used the mean functions, and inside mean you used another mean function. So I want to ask in general, can we use that more than 2, 3, 4 times number of minimum functions to compare than more than 4, 5 numbers when we have to compare? There is also one questions later on where we have to compare the 4 numbers. So can we use the three mean functions simultaneously in one way?
I mean, yeah, you can use it, right? So you have, say, I'll just write this. You have, say, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you want to find the minimum of them. So suppose they're sorted in a different way. So minimum is 1. So in any order you give is also the same, right? So if I give 3 min functions and say I give 4 comma 1 in the first case, and say I'm giving 3 and then I'm giving 3 and then I'm giving of course with the brackets. So minimum of 4 comma 1 will return 1, and minimum of 1 comma 3 again will return 1. So minimum of 1 comma 2 will again return 1. So,
Okay, okay. Yeah, got it. I got it.
but again, for more than, see, 4 is a fine number. You can do it, you can write it down. But if you have n variables, you can do it by taking it as an array and finding the minimum. So in C, you also have an inbuilt function for that. So which will, if you have an array, I guess you know basics of arrays, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So you have this function, so min underscore already there, and r comma r plus. This is just an example. So I haven't given any array declaration. So this particular line will return you the smallest element in that array. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can use this also if you want.
Yeah.
So I'll stop sharing my screen and we'll move on to the next question, which will be taken up by my teammate. Sure. Shall I stop screen sharing there?
Yeah, thank you, Akhil.
Yeah. So how?
Okay, can you see me?
Yes, Anushka, we can see you.
Okay, I'll start sharing now.
Yeah, sure.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, Anushka, we can see your screen.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll be discussing the sixth question now. So I'll read the question first. Petya loves lucky numbers. Everybody knows that lucky numbers are positive integers whose decimal representation contains only the lucky digits 4 and 7. So for example, 47, 744, 4 are lucky, and 5, 17 and 467 are not. Now, Petya calls a number almost lucky if it could be evenly divided by some lucky number. Help him find out if the given number n is almost lucky. So I think most of you who did not get this question tried to find some mathematical logic for it, but there's no such logic actually. It's pretty straightforward. We'll accept the integer n, and then we'll check if it is divisible by all the lucky numbers in the range 1 to 1000. If it's divisible by any of the lucky numbers in the range 1 to 1000. If it is, we'll print yes. If it's not, we'll print no. Let me just remove this. So guys, this is the logical OR operator. If either of the two statements is true, then it will return true. I'm not checking for 44 again because we have already checked for 4 and all the multiples of 44 are multiples of 4 as well. I think we have covered all the numbers from 1 to 1000. Let's try running on some test cases. Okay, let's try submitting the code now. Can any one of you tell me where I'm going wrong?
You can raise your hand.
Okay, Gopalnath, go ahead.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
You haven't added 4477, 444, 777. I think that's why.
Yeah, but you're already checking for 4 and 7, right?
No, it has to be divisible by 44, right?
If it's divisible by 44, then it will be divisible by 4. And we have already checked that.
But then the converse is not true. If it's divisible by 4, it need not be divisible by 44.
Yeah, but we only need one of the conditions to be true, right?
Yes, sorry to interrupt. We should add the statement equal to 0 now.
Okay, wait, have I not done that?
Yeah.
My God, I'm so sorry. My bad.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize. Okay, so any other doubts in this? You can raise your hand. Yeah, Shubham, you can unmute. Hello?
I think it's fine. Like, I think no one has any doubt.
Yeah, okay. Then I think Akhil, you're going next, right? I'll
Yeah,
start
I'll
with
take question 7.
Uh, Akhil, you can go ahead.
Yes, please. Okay, so question 7 is the most asked question, which I think they have a lot of responses have come for that. So question 7 is theater square. I'll read the question once. A theater square in the capital city of Berlin has a rectangular shape with the size n into m meters. On the occasion of the city's anniversary, a decision was taken to pave the square with square granite flagstones. Each flagstone is of the size a into a. What is the least number of flagstones needed to pave the square? It's allowed to cover the surface larger than the theater square, but the square has to be covered. So I guess this line is very important here. The square has to be covered and it's not allowed to break the flagstones. The sides of the flagstone should be parallel to the sides of the square. So, okay. So now the input has 3 numbers, positive integers again, n, m and a. But this time the ranges are till 10 power 9. And we need to output the number of flagstones. So before I start, so first of all, this is more of a geometry related problem. So before I start, let's just ask, like, have you figured out the logic for this question? You can unmute and answer. 1 second. Just raise your hand once. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Chinmay.
Yeah. So basically it's a rectangle and we have to make its both sides, that length and breadth, which will be the multiple of the A. And we will get the area by which we dividing it to the A square, we will get the number of the flagstones.
Do you think that will cover all the squares?
Yes, because that's what I used to make it the multiple of that A. We will just add that A minus the remainder of that number to that number only. So if it is a should I explain it more or it's enough?
Could you explain the remainder part? I didn't understand that. What did you say?
If our sides are just as in the input 6 into 6, if it's 6 cross 6 and we have the squares of the 4 plus 4, we will just go and see the remainder of 6 means 6 remainder 4, then it will be the 2, and by subtracting it from the 4 it will be again 2. We will add it to the 6, which will give us the 8 cross 8 square, and the 8 cross 8 square will be enough to cover all the whole rectangle. And it's the same logic which can be extended to the higher numbers also.
Okay, I think you're correct. So I think your logic will work, but I'll just introduce one more function over here, so that, like, your whole approach is correct, I think, but you can simplify it, I feel, somehow. I'll just tell you that approach once. So first things first, the range is still 10 power 9, okay? So your normal int variable won't work. So you need to modify it to you need to add a modifier long int, which will allow even numbers to be, say we have n comma, sorry, m comma a, we'll just give all of them as long int. So this will enable you to even store numbers greater than 10 power 9. So if any of you have made a mistake in this step, just correct it out. And so you just accept the variables again here. Now I can do it in just one step here. You know, ceil function, the ceil function similar to your in maths, you might have studied the greatest integer function, which is different, but the seal will actually return the next biggest integer for any number. So say if you have seal of 4.3, it will give you 5 as the output. And say you have 4 only, it will return 4 because it's the next biggest integer. Okay, so but seal, this particular function is not pretty reliable, you can say, in some compilers. For me, I personally feel like better than actually using the inbuilt seal function, you can define your own seal function. This is useful as for any question in general where you need to find the seal. It's completely okay if it's working, you can do it. In fact, I'll show you the difference in one of the question. I'll show you the case. So I'll just define my own seal function, which will also give you a better idea of how it is working. So I'll just the two variables. So if say a is actually divisible by another number b, so this function has to return a by b. Okay. Else it should return a by b plus 1. Okay. So I hope you understand. So say if you give 4 and 2 as the input, so 4 is divisible by 2, so it will return 4 by 2, which is 2. Say you give 4.3, not 4.3, say you give 5, because you want to take integers. So you say if you want to give 5 and 2, 5 is not divisible by 2. So a by b, 5 by 2 will print 2, and 2 plus 1 is 3. So basically the seal of 5 by 2, which is seal of 2.5, will give you 3 as well. So you can do that. And also one more, so I'll use the seal safe. And also you can do one thing, instead of finding the remainder and all stuff, kind of making it complicated. One thing you can observe that if you take a side of, if you observe the side of that rectangle, which is 6 units long, and if you take a 4 unit side, so if you take a 4 unit tile, you need minimum of 2 tiles to actually cover the length itself, right? And because also it's not allowed to break the flagstones, and the sides of the flagstone should be parallel to the sides of the square. So the only way you can actually cover the side at least is keeping 2 tiles on top of each other. So the 2 tiles, 4 plus 4 would give you 8, which is actually the next biggest integer after 6, which is divisible by 4. So how do I generalize this for any condition? So say if you have 7 as one of the side length and 3 is this value of a. So you need 3 tiles. So 3 plus 3 is 6, which is still leaving out that 1 unit gap. But if you add another 3 tiles, it becomes 9, which is greater than 7. Okay, so that will cover your side. So which is basically similar to what he said. You're finding out the next biggest area, which is a multiple of a square. So in this question, 4 into 4, 16. So the area covered by each tile is 16, and 6 into 6 is 36. But 36 is not divisible by 16, which basically means you can't cover the whole area using only integer number. You can't cover the whole area using an integer number of tiles. You need to break the tiles somewhere, but you're not allowed to break the tiles. So you take it to the next biggest number, which is the next biggest area, which is actually divisible by 16, which is 64. So that's why he said you make it a 8 into 8 square. So you could implement this pretty easily here. So one of the example I give is 7 by 3. So seal safe of 7 comma 3, let us say. So this function will return 3 because the seal of 7 by 3 is actually 3. And similarly, you can apply the same logic for the breadth as well. Oh, sorry, they give an example. So n comma a, and the seal safe of m comma a, right? So this logic should work, I think. You can just quickly check this case. 6 by 4 is will give you 2, and again 6 by 4 will give you 2. 2 into 2 is 4. So it's similar to what Chinmay had said. Logic is similar, but instead of actually finding the remainder and figuring out that 8 is the next largest integer, the seal save function, you can use it directly to give you the value. So let's just check if it compiles first. Okay, it's compiling, so you can just give 664. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. Sorry. Oh, and sorry, one last thing I forgot. Again, there are no test cases, as I said, for this question. So you could remove this line if you want. You have to remove it, sorry. Because I started with 6, it thought there were 6 test cases and it was allowing me to enter more integers, but there's only one. So 664 will give me 4, and that's what we wanted. So yeah, let's compile it once. I'll just submit it. Okay, so before I just conclude this, I just had told you that what if I had given the usual seal function, I had declared another seal save function, what happens if I actually give a seal function? Okay, so let us run this time this code also once. Okay, sorry, the seal function doesn't take long int as an input, but yeah, no problem. Let's say I just give this as an int. It won't accept the test cases, but let us just check what happens in the 664 test case at least. Oh, sorry, I'm really sorry. I gave seal of n by a. Sorry, I shouldn't have. Okay, so now say I give 6, see, it's giving me 1. Now, how does 1 even pop up in the whole scenario? 6 by 4 is 1.5, and so the seal function is taking the seal of 1.5 to be 1 only. So seal is actually, I don't know what bug it's there in the compiler, but so that's why I usually don't prefer using the seal function as an inbuilt one. So you can actually declare a seal save function separately. It doesn't take much time again. So somehow its seal of n by a is getting processed as 1. I'm not sure why it happens. It may be because of the compiler's fault. I'm not sure about that, but a seal save function will help us actually to remove that kind of problems, and especially when you're coding in contests, time is very critical and you can't waste time again by defining another seal save function. So it's always, I prefer to store a seal save function separately. So you could try this once. All of you can try it on your compilers if you're using different ones. Seal as a general, and just check what does seal of 6 by 4 actually print in your output screen. So, but the logic for this question was, yeah, just try to cover out the sides first, and then automatically you will be covering out the whole area. So to cover out the sides, you need to have the next largest integral tile, so which is implemented by the seal function. And of course, be careful of this 10 power 9 because it's a pretty huge number and int cannot take that load of storing 10 power 9 numbers. So you use a modifier called long int, and long int is actually the most preferred one. Usually in all contests, usually most questions in Codeforces, even the sizes of each integer usually range from 1 to 10 power 9. So it's always preferred to use a long int modifier. So many raised hands are there. Okay, you can start. Yeah, you can unmute. Let's start with Chinmay. I think Chinmay is okay. Hemant. Okay.
I used
Yeah.
the another one similar to seal. I mean, I wrote the if else statement similar to seal. So, is there any difference for the time complexity for seal and if else statements?
Uh, I think there shouldn't be any difference in time. So you use the same, I think almost the same code, right?
Yeah.
There won't be any like what was the other function you gave? You actually wrote the seal function.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, it. You named it seal safe. No, I don't. I have used in the CMath seal function. There is a function in C++ called seal directly.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah. That's I used it. So, will there be any difference by using that and using these if else statements?
Firstly, did your just out of curiosity, did your answer match?
Yeah,
So the seal function worked for you.
yeah.
Okay, fine. But then also I think this how this in the library how the seal function is defined also should be pretty similar to this only.
Okay.
Uh, so I don't think
There will
again
be much difference. Okay.
there shouldn't be much difference. Yeah,
Yeah. Anyways, thank you, guy.
yeah, sure. So everyone like whoever's raised their hands can unmute, but we'll go in an order. So
Okay,
Costa,
so I just wanted to mention that like the seal in the library does work. Like what you have written was actually wrong. You had written int upon int. So that basically typecast it had it. If you write it as double, it will give you the correct answer. The only issue with the seal is the precision issue.
okay. So but so the code
Like,
will but the code is actually running for int also, so it doesn't give any. It gets typecasted obviously.
okay, I'll tell what the mistake is. You, when you showed the demonstration, you wrote
Yeah,
seal of n upon a, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
I'll just
try
what I
typecasting it as double.
okay.
Try typecasting n as double and a as also double. Yeah,
All three I've typecasted as
yeah,
double.
here also. Yeah,
So
try. For small numbers, it will work perfectly. The only issue is the large numbers, the precision issue.
can't be taken again. So 4 is working. Okay. So, but again, how would you store 10 power 9 in double?
Okay, so
Large number.
double actually goes a lot more than 10 to the power 18. It's not
Okay.
limited to 10 to the power 9. Okay, so like the only issue with the built-in seal is the precision issue because it actually considers its input as double. It does not
Okay.
consider its input as some integer. So that's why it's recommended to go by the way that you said. But
Yes.
like the reason is a bit different.
Okay. So like, usually from my experience, I don't see much of double being declared in CF questions. So, okay, so this was a more of a basic algorithm, so you can actually focus upon double and integer typecasting. But again, thanks, Kaustubh. Thank you. I rectified my solution here.
Okay, I think like most of the people had doubt in that only. So yeah.
Yeah, everyone's dropped their hands. Maybe.
I think we can go with the next question.
Yeah, so I'll just stop 1 second.
I'm presenting the next question, Akhil. Yeah.
Yeah.
Akhil, can you see my screen?
Yes, bhai, I can.
For some reason, I'm not able to turn on my camera. So let's just go with this. So the next question we are going with is your horseshoe on the other roof? So I will start. Yeah, so I will read out the question. So, Valera the horse is going to the party with friends. He has been following the fashion trend for a while, and he knows that it is very popular to wear all horseshoe of different colors. Valera has got 4 horseshoes left for the last year. but maybe some of them have the same colors. In this case, he needs to go to the store and buy some few more horseshoes, not to lose faith in front of the stylish completes. Fortunately, the store sells horseshoes of all colors under the sun, and Valera has enough amount of money to buy any four of them. Okay. However, in order to save money, he would like to spend as little as possible. So you need to help Valerian determine with what is the minimum number of horseshoes he needs to buy to wear four horseshoes of different color. So I guess the problem is pretty clear. We have four different numbers which represent four colors. Uh, the horse Valera, the main character of our story, want all the four shoes to be of different color, which aren't the case always. He has a store where he can go to buy the shoes, and like he can get any number of shoes. We want to find the minimum number of shoes he will have to buy. So, okay, I will just start question. Yeah. Again, this is a kind of standard input thing, but it's not required here. So we have S1, S2. Now we need to find the number of horseshoes which are of same color. Okay. So we want all the horseshoes to become of different colors. So I will just explain the test case. So here 1733. So since 3 and 3 are of same color, we will replace exactly one of them with a different color. So we need one. 777. All of them are of same color. So we will replace uh, three of them with some different color. We can buy any kind of shoes. So here the answer is 3. And if all the 4 are of different color initially, the answer will be 0, right? So yeah. Okay. So okay, we will start like this. Int answer equal to 0. Like this problem would become a bit more easier if we could use arrays, but since here we will just go with using itself. So yeah, first I will start with S1. S1. We are checking all the shoes which are similar to S1. So okay, if what are the range of numbers? Okay, this will range from 1 to 10 per 9. So if S2 is equal to S1, yeah, I will show you guys all the possible ways which are there. Yeah. Yeah. So if S1 is equal to S2, what we will do is we will need to replace S2, right, because it is the same color as S1. So what we will do is uh, okay, we will increase our answer by 1. Just a minute. Like, I'm getting ways to do it with arrays, but not with just if else. Let me just think for a second. Mm. So if there are 4 colors, so like there could either be all 4 of same color, some 3 of same color, some 2 of same color, right? Okay. Okay, so I will just go ahead with this. I will just show you the first array approach that I'm getting. So what I'm thinking is I will I need to assure if I have checked a particular color. So like okay, I will just first show you what was the wrong approach which I was getting. So first I will check every color with S1. So if S1 is equal to S2, we need to change the color, right? So I will make answer plus plus. Since S2 is same as S1, we need to replace S2. Now is if S3 is same as S1, we will do answer plus plus. If S4 is same as S3, we will do answer plus plus. So if either of the okay, just a minute. Either of them is equal to S1, we need to buy a new horseshoe. So we will increase the answer. Now, if S2 is same as S3, answer plus plus. If 4 is same as S2, now if S3 is same as S4, answer plus plus. So you can see like we have checked all possible cases that would have been there, and now we just need to print the answer. Cool. This is a wrong approach. I'm just saying what could have been there. Okay. So, yeah, okay. So let's see what answer it gives. I think for this problem it should give right answer. Yeah, so 1 is correct. For 7 it will give 6. But 6 is definitely not the correct answer. So one thing which might think is like each pair would be counted twice, so we can divide by 3, divide by 2, but that's also not the case because here the answer is 1. So I'm not sure why I'm not able to get a simpler approach with just if else. What I'm okay, I can actually do that without as well. So what I will do is I will mark a visited kind of thing that I have already visited this number. So we will initialize it with 0. What this thing will take care is if that number is already done. Like what we are actually missing is if some number was like here as in the case 777, we had replaced 7 S2 with like some different color, S3 with some different color, and S4 with some different color. So now again we are counting this pair, but because we could have chosen 6 for S2 and 8 for S3. Now they are not same, so we don't need one more extra thing, right? So for this thing, what we can do is there would be some simpler approach, but I'm not able to get it as of now. So I'm marking S2 as visited. What this will do is this will like I can check it out later that if S2 is already done, I don't need to check with it. So here, since I would have already replaced S3 with some different color, I will mark it as visited. And here S4 is been replaced, so I will mark it with some different color. Now I need to check this condition only if V2 is not visited. So if this condition would have not been done, then V2 would have its original value, which is 0. So here what we will write is if V2 equal to 0 and this thing. So this is the logical AND operation. So if V2 is 0 and this thing, then we will increase by 1. And again here, if V3 is 0, okay, V2 again, sorry. So if V2 is not replaced, then we will do this thing. Yeah. And here, if V3 is not replaced, because if we can replace V3, we will definitely try to replace it with something which is not already in the collection. So whenever we mark it visited, that will take care that we don't use it again earlier. Also, I think we need to mark it visited again here. So V3 equal to 1. Equal to 1. I think mark visited here, so that should be fine. I will just try running it out. Yeah, okay. We'll just try it out if it works. First case, let's see if it works here. I guess it's working here as well. I'm not sure if it will pass the test cases or not. Like maybe I got a bit more fear than I should have. Let's just try submitting it. Like actually finding out a way with just if else was a bit difficult. Okay, it got accepted, but I definitely know there would be some easier approach as well. So I would just like to ask it out to you guys. So yeah, do you think we can do it a bit more easier than this with just using if else? Yeah, I'll just let everyone raise their hand. Okay. Okay, let me just ask then someone. Yeah. Karthik, you can speak. If you either have a doubt or you want to suggest something.
Hello.
Yeah, Karthik, I can hear you.
Yeah, in that second if else statement where we use S1, S2 equals to S3 and S2 equals to S4, we can nest it into another if statement which is S2 not equal to S1. In that case, it will not repeat that count. And similarly, in the last if statement, we can nest it under a if statement which will say S3 not equal to S2.
Avoid us using the visited thing, right?
Yes.
Basically, yeah,
not
you are
equal to
actually. Let's just try submitting it as well. So S2 not equal to S1, S2 not equal to S1 again here. Now, what do you say, Karthik? What will we use here? S2 not equal to
S3. S3. No, only S3 not equal to S2 will be sufficient because we are coming in order. So it will take care of that. Like previous code will take care of S2 not equal to S1, and here we can use only S3 not equal to S2.
Try it out. So you're saying we should just consider that if S3 is not equal to S2 and S3 equal to S4, right?
Yes.
Okay, I will just remove the visited thing. So yeah, I will just explain it out. So basically, why I used the visited thing is had it like been a lot of numbers, then the visited thing helps. Like you can easily track off the number you have visited. But here, since the numbers are small, we can use this thing as well. In general, if you have to solve for like a given integer n or like 1,000 numbers, you can use the visited thing. So yeah, this thing is also not required. Now input. Just try submitting it. We can just check for the base cases. Just I would like to give one more case. Yeah, Karthik, what will be the output here? Karthik,
We should have 2, right?
I was not able to hear you.
Yeah, at 1, 2, 1, 1. Yeah, 2 it should.
It should be 2, right? Oh, but it's 3. What do you think, Karthik, we missed?
Mhm.
2, right? Yeah, like you agree. So something is wrong in the code. Or you think the code is right, the compiler is wrong?
No, but
So, okay, let me just try submitting it as well. I'm not sure if Codeforces included that test
yeah.
case. So, it can happen sometimes that the code get accepted, but it is wrong. But it's quite rare on Codeforces. So I think we should get wrong answer definitely. Like, oh, it got accepted. Oh, nice. But definitely it's not correct, right? Do you agree
Yeah.
with Karthik or not?
Yeah, I think that S3 not equals to S2. In that, we need to add one more condition. Because here I didn't think that S2 was different. I didn't try it with that test. Here S2 was different.
Should be the case, right? That S3 is not
Yeah.
equal to S1 and S3 is not equal to S2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Karthik. So yeah, I will just okay. Anyways, the code is getting accepted, so it doesn't matter if we check this out as well. But let me just try on that particular test case now. Now it's giving the correct answer too. Okay, let's just try submitting it. If this is instead wrong answer in with respect to Codeforces. Again, now if you see, like if it is for n numbers, then you would have to write each and every condition. Like S3 not equal to S2, S3 not equal to S1, and like for 1000 you would have to write S3 not equal to S99, 999, 900, and so on up till 1. So you would have to write so many conditions that would not only make the writing process a bit difficult, but that will make time complexity errors as well. So that's why the visited thing is a bit more helpful. But again, for this particular problem, if you just need to do with FLs, this way actually is a much better way to understand the problem. So yeah, again, as you can see, the problem got accepted, so it's not an issue. Thank you, Karthik, but for showing us the wrong way and the right way as well. Does anyone have any further suggestion, queries, or anything you can ask? If you have any queries up till now as well, okay, I will just unmute you, Mayank. Yes, Mayank, you can speak now, I guess. Mayank, do you want to ask something? Okay, I think it's fine then. Okay, does anyone like from the team wants to suggest something for this problem? Like what could have been a better way? Akhil, Anushka, Ashita. Or were you guys like planning to do it the same way? Actually, without the visited thing, this one is better. But yeah, like just if it's for general thing, like you can use the visited thing. I guess I will now pass it on to the team. So, Ashita, are you going to continue?
Yeah, I'll be continuing now.
Okay. Also, were you planning to do the same way, like this way?
Yeah, I had also done it this way, but before this, I had also first sorted the 4 numbers and then proceeded.
Oh, okay. So that would help you avoid that this condition, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
I can't hear you, Ashita.
Hello.
Yeah, you're audible now.
Okay, I'll share my screen.
Yeah, sure.
I have one doubt in the previous thing, and at that time the network is little bit slow.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to know that the case when all the four shoes are different, then why we need to like take that case also, and we have to print 0
So, okay, what?
because the already it's given.
Yeah. So, what do you think we should print for that test case?
When all these sources are different, then that will not go to this shop, and then why then he need to buy anything. So that's not the part of the test.
Okay, yeah, yeah, fine. Okay, just a minute, Ashita. I guess some people have doubt. I will just take them. Shubham, you can ask your query. Yeah, Shubham. I think I can't hear you, Shubham. Is it just me? Ashita, can you hear Shubham?
No, I can't.
Okay. Maybe we can go ahead. Harshvardhan, you can speak.
Sir, actually, visiting thing, I have doubt in visiting thing.
Yeah.
Instead, visiting thing, we can use else if condition, right? Means
yeah,
how
like-
it will be, visiting thing will be helpful other than else if. Means in any other situation, it will be helpful.
Yeah, so the visited thing is like you got the concept of visited, right? What we want is if we have already visited that particular shoe, we are marking it as visited. You got that thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens is like you can do this problem with if else, but if like there were just 4 shoes here, right? Suppose if there are 1,000 shoes, so what we will do instead of this, like then you would have to write if else multiple times. Like even using a for loop, you would have to write multiple conditions. So instead of that, you can just check if that particular shoe is visited or not. You got the concept, right?
Yeah,
It
if
will be
1,000 shoes were there, then even visiting things, we have to define those many variables, right?
yeah, like we will discuss it on the next problem set. Like using for loop, you can like do the 1,000 thing in just 3 lines, but the thing is the condition number of conditions would have increased, which would have been difficult with if else as well.
Okay.
Like you would get to know more about it in the next problem set actually.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harshvardhan. Dhruv, do you want to ask? Okay, maybe I will just unmute you. Yeah, Dhruv, you can speak now.
Yeah, I had the same doubt only. Like someone suggested sorting as a method, right? So sorting using if else would be tough when number is increased. So
Yeah.
there we would have to
We'll
use
get to know
arrays,
more
right?
about it in the next session actually.
Okay.
When we discuss
Okay.
for loops, it would become clear.
Fine.
Yeah. Uh, Ayushman Pandey. Okay. Anushman Pandey. I will just allow my. Yeah.
The method you told of the array, what is that? What was that also array sort?
That was also
Array sort. Sorting the array. That method or something else?
no. Like, which exactly are you talking about? The visited thing or
No.
what?
You told na you got the idea of array.
Yeah.
Can you tell that once? What was the idea?
Basically, like we can like I thought. When you use for loops, you can't just name the variables like s1, s2, s3, and so on. So at that time, you need to make an array to index the numbers. So like that's why I was telling that we have to use arrays. But later on, I realized that we can use the visited thing also with like for small numbers. Visited thing would work like v1, v2, v3, v4 as well. So yeah, like you would get to know more about the loops in the later part. So I think this would become a bit more clearer then. I think you can ignore arrays and loops for now.
Thank you.
Harshvardhan, do you want to ask? Okay, yeah, fine. So Harshvardhan, if you want to ask something, you can unmute.
No, okay, so I forgot to.
Ashita, you can go ahead now actually.
Okay, so I'll be discussing the next question now. In the meanwhile, I request those people who've understood the questions quickly to attempt the question in the Slido. Okay, I'll be presenting my screen. Okay, so the next question is expression. So here, Petya studies in a school and he loves math. Okay, they're just a story. And then one of the class teacher wrote 3 positive integers A, B, and C on the blackboard. The task was to insert signs of operations plus and multiplication, and probably brackets between the numbers so that the value of the resulting expression is as large as possible. Let's consider an example and assume that the teachers wrote the number 1, 2, and 3 on the blackboard. Okay, so he can write it as 1 plus 2 into 3, or 1 into 2 plus 3, or 1 into 2 into 3, or 1 plus 2 into 3. Okay, so these 4 operations he does. And then checking which is the maximum. Here 9 is the maximum, so we need to output the maximum number. So here we can insert expressions only between A and B and between B and C. We cannot swap the integers like, A and C and then with B. We cannot do such things. Okay, so now we will start with the code. Okay, so here what I have done is I've written all the possible expressions that we get. Okay, and I've randomly assigned any one of the expression to max. So I have assigned A plus B plus C to max. Okay, and then what I've done is the other expression possible is A into B into C. Then the other one is A into B plus C. Or the other one is A plus B into C. Or the other thing is A plus B into C or A into B plus C. So these are the only possible expressions. No other expression is possible. So now we check if this is greater than max. If it is true, then max becomes this. Okay, so now if this is true, then we again compare with the new value of max. We compare it with val2. Okay, so here doing this if condition, we are finding the maximum of the val1, val2, val3, val4 and val5. So whichever is maximum, we get that value, and finally we get the maximum value. So I guess this is pretty simple. Now let me run the program. So we'll give the same input 1, 2 and 3. Here we get the output 9. Okay, we'll give another one. Get the output 27. That's the maximum here. Okay, so now let us run it. Okay, why is it showing compilation error? Okay, it's not accepting this. Fine. Okay, yeah, the solution is accepted. So that was that problem. And now let us move on to the Slido discussion. So here I had given this. So here we had asked this question: if -5, then print this statement. So many of you had. Okay, yeah, so the correct answer is A, B, and D. Many of you had even guessed A, B. Okay, so the reason for the answer to be A, B, and D is that while using if-else statements, the proper usage of brackets is very important. So here, first we are checking if -5 is not equal to 0. If we just use this, it means if it's not equal to 0. So these set of statements will be executed. Okay, so A and B will be printed. So else condition will not be printed. Since we don't have a bracket here, only one statement will be printed after else. So the next statement will also, okay, so if this condition is true, even the next statement will be printed. So since here A, B, since this is true, B will be printed. So the answer should be A, B and D. So now I've released an other Slido question. So can you people try answering this. In the meantime, we will discuss another question and we'll come back. Akhil, you can carry on now.
Yeah, so I think that's it for the easy problem set, right?
Yeah, I think that should be fine.
Yes, ma'am. I think I can explain one problem from the moderate set as well. Bonus one. Hello?
Yes, Akhil, you can.
Yeah, sure. So the problem we're going to discuss is I'm going to discuss this ping pong. So this is mostly a game theory problem. Sorry. So first we'll start by reading the problem statement. So Alice and Bob play ping pong with simplified rules. During the game, the player serving the ball commences a play. The server strikes the ball when the receiver makes a return by hitting the ball back. Thereafter, the server and receiver must alternately make a return until one of them doesn't make a return. The one who doesn't make a return loses play. The winner of the play commences the next play. Alice starts the first play. Alice has X stamina and Bob has Y. To hit the ball while serving or returning, each player spends 1 stamina. So if they don't have any stamina, they can't return the ball and lose the play, or can't serve the ball. In this case, the other ball serves. In this case, the other player serves the ball instead. If both players run out of stamina, the game is over. Sometimes it's strategically optimal not to return the ball, lose the current play, but save the stamina. On the contrary, when the server commences a play, they have to hit the ball if they have some stamina left. Both Alice and Bob play optimally and want to firstly maximize their number of wins and secondly minimize the number of wins of their opponent. Calculate the resulting number of Alice and Bob's wins. So the first line, now we have test cases here, unlike the previous problems. The first and only line of each test case contains X and Y, if X and Y in the given range. Alice and Bob's initial stamina. So they represent initial staminas. So for each test case, print 2 integers, the resulting number of Alice and Bob's wins, if both of them play optimally. So this is a pretty nice problem, I would say, but it's a bit tricky to explain it, I guess. So I'll try my best. So, okay. Yeah, so let me just open a notepad. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is actually do it a bit mathematically. So let us declare a function firstly. So can you see my notepad? So if you can see, I'm going to declare a function with 2 variables as its inputs, x, y. So what x and y represent are the initial staminas, not the staminas at any instant of the game. So the staminas keep changing during the course of play, and this function will represent it at any point in time. So naturally, say at a particular instant, say let's check a boundary condition. Say one person's stamina is 0 and the other person's stamina is X. So what happens here is, in the end, the person who's having the X stamina will keep serving, and other person simply can't receive it or can't return it because he has no stamina. So the person having the X stamina will keep winning. So the number of wins he will have. So basically, the final scorecard will be something like 0 and X. So the other person have X wins from that point of time. And also another obvious case is if X of 0, which is the other person has more stamina. So will be X. Say this is like a boundary function maybe for this particular function. Okay. So now, but let us analyze this function a bit more deeply. Say at any instant of the game, a person is having, say the person who's having the stamina X is has to make a decision basically. And what is the decision he has to make in general is to whether he has to hit the ball. So when you say it's hitting the ball, it could mean either serving or returning. So if you're serving and returning, sorry, not and serving or returning, you're basically making some contact with the ball. More importantly, your stamina is going to get lowered by 1 unit. So the person who's actually making this decision may will lose stamina for sure, but he may or may not win the point. We are not pretty sure. It depends on the other person's stamina as well. So that is one of the choice he has, or he has another choice of just leaving the ball. This is at any instant of the game, at any scores, any X and Y stamina, not scores, stamina. So when he leaves the ball, it's pretty simple. He loses that point firstly, and if he loses the he maintains his stamina overall, but he loses the point, so a win will be going to the opponent person. So it's more of a gamble he has to make between these two choices, saving stamina or actually returning the ball and trying to win. So, but if you see the optimal condition case here, both Alice and Bob play optimally. And firstly, they want to maximize their number of wins. And so he's more concerned about his own victory rather than the other person's outcome. So most likely he may have to serve or return the ball, but we'll see which is more favorable for him in the given condition. So now our basic aim of this particular function is to, using f of x comma y, I need to, try to make a relation to the score. Now, stamina at any instant I know, but can I relate it to the final scores? What will happen? So that's the pretty much what we need to find in this question. So yeah, so let's explore first case when he's actually hitting the ball. So what is happening when he hits the ball? Firstly, his own stamina is going to decrease, so x is going to become x minus 1. And the other person, we are not concerned about it because this function is actually concerned about more of a player one, what his approach would be. And if he hits the ball will go to the other side of the court, and again it becomes the choice of y comma x. Basically the function gets inverted, and for y's stamina, what was his decisions be? So it's kind of like a recursion, but not exactly. So what happens here basically is, firstly, the outcome of this function is the ball goes to the other person. So the other person will have to make a choice. So you can represent it that by f of x minus 1. And since the scores are getting reversed, since the player 1 and player 2 are getting reversed, I'll just reverse whatever is coming. So basically this means x minus 1 comma y, but I'll be explaining on that. So we'll just keep it like this as such. And what you need to note is x turns to x minus 1 and y remains the same. So let us see the second case where he leaves the ball. So naturally when he leaves the ball, his stamina is not going to, stamina will not change. But when he, let us take a step back and try to relate this part of the function to the previous outcome, which was when the ball is actually coming to him, it should have been served or hit by the opponent, which is y. So it must have some contact on the other side of the court. So his stamina, the opponent's stamina, this is what is happening previously actually. Okay, I'll just see, this is a previous case. What happens was x was the same as x, but y had become y minus 1 in this particular course of play. So you could say in one way that this function can be related by f of x comma y minus 1, which is the previous case when actually the ball is being hit by the opponent and his score is being decreased, but plus a 0 comma 1. Why I'm adding this 0 comma 1 to this particular kind of arrangement? It represents a score actually. This is a score, and this is more like a function which you are trying to relate to the score. So basically whatever happens here, you need to add a plus 0 comma 1 because you're leaving the ball here. And if you leave the ball, you are bound to lose that point. That's the whole aim. You're going to lose the point. So the opponent will gain one win. So this representation actually represents stamina. It's a function, and x comma y are the inputs as stamina, but this represents the wins of each player. So when I say plus 0 comma 1, it means that the other player is going to eventually get that point, right? So we have two outcomes here basically. What exactly is happening? So we'll just try to relate them to the scores. So it's natural that reverse of f of y comma x minus 1 is score is getting the function itself is changing its input. So it is you could write it as the reverse of pretty much. I think I can write it as x minus 1 comma y. And this is interesting because when he hits the ball, say the staminas are x and y, and let's say the game is starting with x, so he's basically serving the ball. So what happens is the staminas of each person will get, the first person will get reduced, and the other person will be maintaining his same stamina as such. So this is one outcome of this function, and the other function is basically f of x comma y minus 1 plus 0 comma 1, which represents, if you just add up them, you get x comma y minus 1 plus 0 comma 1. So it basically becomes x comma y. So these are the two outcomes. Like for a particular move, these are the two outcomes. And so if you just compare these two, which is a more optimal condition? So you would want to maximize the number of wins you have totally. So you would choose this one, because as player X, as player 1, you would be having more number of wins than the other case. So you naturally will choose this one. And so what we have concluded, I would say, is basically f of x comma y is actually equal to x comma y, right? So because during f of xy, we are choosing this case, which is resulting in a score of x comma y. So f of x comma y is actually equal to x comma y. But if you observe the question deeply, you have a line which says that Alice starts the first play. So if Alice is going to start the first play, it basically means that she is going to start the game. So you would have to choose this case only, initially at least. The scores are given as x comma y. The scores are given as x comma y. So if Alice is starting, she'll hit the ball, which will in turn result in this case. It will be going to this case. So if it goes to that case, basically you would be having f of x comma y is equal to ref of f of y comma x minus 1. So x minus, which we concluded from this particular thing is that it is basically the same as x minus 1 comma y. So what this says is the most optimal case for the given scenario is when f of x comma y if this initial staminas are as x comma y, if each player plays optimally, trying to maximize their wins, and if they have any stamina, they will try to return the ball, and they'll try to maximize their victories. So this would entirely result in the x minus 1 comma y case. So yeah, so this basically says that the answer is for 1 comma 1 it should be 0 comma 1, 2 comma 1 it should be 1 comma 1, and 1 comma 7 it should be 0 comma 7. So it might look like you could decipher it from the question itself, but again we have a proof here. So I think this is the proof of this question. So basically what we need to code is simply just take in two numbers. So since we have test cases, the test cases will be dealt in the main function. So we'll just declare int x comma y cin x comma y, and we just need to output x minus 1 with a space. And then basically finishes that line over there. It moves to the next line. So yeah, I think this particular question you need not actually, I don't think there's any purpose still if you want to. Code is compiling, so that's fine. So let's just try to paste it. So naturally it should get accepted, and it did. If you see the test cases also here, if you see the test cases, obviously you'll have something like this. But now you observe that in the first initial part that it's always in the player 1 is always starting with a stamina of 1, and the other person is 1 and above, and scores are always ending up with 0-0. So what is happening is that Alice has the ball initially, she serves, but her 1 point stamina is lost because of her serving, and the opponent, since he has stamina, will return it obviously. He may, like for certain cases, he may not return it. So he will return it every case because most likely his stamina is actually greater than Alice. So he will return it. He'll try to maximize his win. But since Alice, when the ball comes back to her, Alice doesn't have any stamina, she can't return the ball. So she loses the point. So that's why in any of the one scenario, she can't get any win, right? So, and for any other random numbers, you can generalize this logic to that. So yeah, this was my approach. So any doubts?
So like actually in this problem, the solution is quite simple, like the code is quite simple. You just need to take x and y as an input and print x minus 1 and y. But the logic why you exactly do that is a bit like trickier. That's what Akhil was trying to explain. So yeah, like if any one of you have any doubt in the logical point of view, you can ask why we exactly did that. So yeah, Akhil, I think you did quite a good job in explaining the logical part, why we have to print x minus 1 and y.
Like it was a bit tough to like using a notepad to explain it, because this requires more of a diagrammatic representation. But I tried my best. I think this is understandable.
Yeah, it was nice actually. So does anyone of you have any like doubts in this question in particular? Again, it might look simple what the input output is, but to exactly figure out why we are doing it is a bit trickier. So
there's no much of coding here. There's just whole of logic involved, I think.
Even if you did not got it, you can just take out some time and try to figure it out. In most of the competitive programming problems, one standard approach to solve the problem is to take some examples and see what's going on. So like here you can take the 1 and 1 example. What would have happened is Alice would start hitting the ball. Now Bob has two options. Either he can just leave the ball, which will give Alice 1 point, and now he will take the sub and take 1 point, or he can hit, it will give him 1 point and make Alice 0 point. So with 1 and 0 and 1 and 1, Bob will choose 1 1, right? 1 0, because he wants his maximum point and give Alice the minimum point. So 1 and 0 is what he will choose, and that's what the output is as well. That is for the first test case. For other test case also, you can try figuring out what exactly is happening, and you will get it like why we are actually printing x minus 7 and y. Yeah, again here the logic why we are printing that is a bit important, which you can think. Yeah,
So
again,
one last thing. So basically, I was just struggling for the keyword here. Basically, I think I did something like a mathematical induction only here. If you know, so you start with a boundary case. You just check for say 0 comma x, f of 0. Usually check in the induction cases the base case, and that we have proved. Obviously, logically also it sounds right, because if a person has 0 stamina and the other person has a non-zero stamina, eventually he will be having x wins. So this part of the function has, what we are aim is to prove that this is true. And to prove this is true, we are using induction principle. One is to check the boundary conditions, which both of them have been satisfied. And the next step in induction is you assume that f of x comma y is true. In this case, is equal to x comma y, and you check for x minus 1 comma y, or you know that any of the x comma y minus 1 for these cases. And if they also start matching, then your proof is right. You could say it's more like a mathematical induction for two variables. So yeah, that would be like the keyword explaining my whole approach here. So I use this principle, like you would have asked me, like for some steps over here, like for this step example, I never proved that this is true, but I'm still using this. I'm considering that this is true and I'm using it to prove this. So it's kind of weird, but yeah, I think if you read it once or twice, you'll understand it. It's induction, so.
Actually, we can get your check.
I think no one is raising their hands, so I think shall I close this
I
question?
thought there could be two cases, like they got the problem completely or they didn't got it completely. So, I know it's a bit hard to understand at the first glance. You can just try figure it out with a few examples. It would become a bit clear. The main point is each and like both the individuals want to maximize their point, and simultaneously, like if they have two conditions where their point remains the same, they will want the opponent's point to be as minimum as possible. Like that's kind of the main crux of the problem. So Akhil, I think we can end the session now. Like it's already kind of 8, so
okay.
We will release the tutorial for all the problems and solution videos as well. So you can go through them if you did not understand a particular problem. If you still not get a particular problem, we can ask it onto the group, and like respective coordinates will take care in explaining the problem, or your friends from group will also like can help to explain the problem. So we want to ensure that each and every one of you are able to solve the compulsory problems. If you solve all the 10 compulsory problems for all the 12 set, you will get to around 120, 150 problems overall, which would give you a good idea. In the first week, like we have 3 consecutive days classes because of some issues. Uh, from the next week onwards, you will get 2 days to solve each problem set. So that would give you a good time to solve all the problems. But again, for this problem set, you have the time till the Saturday evening, I guess. So you can take your time till that time, and we will check the submissions at that point of time. So yeah. Again, if any one of you have any queries, you can raise your hand. Okay. But I guess since it's already quite late, so if you want to leave, like now, you can leave the meeting as well. We have taken that time. Thank you, everyone. We will have the next class tomorrow at 1:30 p.m.
Yeah, we need just a minute. We are taking a feedback form.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay, so just before that, we had asked a Slido question. I would just like to tell that. After that, I'll ask the feedback thing. Okay, yeah. So this Slido one, almost 70% of you people had answered ABD, but I'm sorry, like hardly 10% of you had answered had given the right answer. The answer is compile time error. Okay, the reason is that, as I told in before, brackets are really important when you're using if-else statement. So here we haven't put a bracket after if and closed it here. So because of that, else is just a plain statement with no if. So because of this, nothing gets executed and you'll get a compile time error. That's the right answer. And also we just have a feedback form. So we would like all of you to answer it. And yeah, thank you for attending the session.
Thank you, Ashika. Okay, Mayank, I think I will unmute you. Yes, Mayank, you can go ahead. Mayank, do you want to ask something? Mayank, I think
Am I audible?
Yeah, now you're audible.
Yeah, I want to know that from the next set, would you let know means where which test case is failing and what else, so that
Yeah, we would release that for all the further problem sets. Like we actually were not able to do that for this
yeah.
first problem set, but we will do that for the rest of PS2 onwards. For this particular problem set, if you get any queries, you can ask it on the group. The coordinators and the group members will help you figure it out. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Mayank.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so I guess since like you guys don't have any doubts, I will just stop the recording.